Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gaelic Lives podcast. We're looking ahead to the All-Ireland semi-finals coming up this weekend at intermediate and senior level. It's Ballinderry taking on Austin Stacks along with Errigal Ciaran taking on Dr. Crokes. So it's Ulster against Kerry this weekend, and I'm delighted to invite on Ronan McGuckin, and he's going to help me look at the two teams, how they're going to fare and how everything's going to pan out. And Ronan, you're the perfect man for this. You're a Ballinderry man that used to manage Errigal Ciaran, so the perfect man to preview these two games.
Well, the next few minutes we'll find out whether I am or not, Sean, but it's nice to be here. It's nice to be invited, so thank you.
I'm sure you'll be keeping a close eye on Errigal, Ronan, still, even though you're gone a couple of years. No,
absolutely. I still have very, very fond feelings for the club up there. They're big games. I would always try and get to either see them in person or certainly watch them on the TV. So I've seen a fair wee bit of them this year now, and it's been brilliant. They've had a lot of success, obviously, and here's hoping they can go a wee bit further. There's not a cup to be won, and I think they've got every chance.
And Ballinderry, obviously, probably more known as a senior team, and we'll get into the ins and outs of the semi-final, but getting over the line in an Ulster final, Ronan, you can't turn your nose up at any sort of title, particularly at the provincial level.
Absolutely. I think me personally, I'm almost surprised as to the kick that I've got out of this Ulster run. A lot of people at the start of the year would have been saying, it's only intermediate, but I'm finding it hard to get excited about it at the start of the year. But God, as the season went on, and seeing the effort that the boys are putting in, and the standard of football, certainly in Ulster, it's been a pleasant surprise. But we've all got a serious kick out of this run, and it's brought a new buzz around the parish and around the community, and we're all really enjoying it.
And I suppose looking ahead to this semi-final, I know I'd mentioned Ballinderry, probably better known as a senior team, Austin Stacks, the exact same down in Kerry, and it's just interesting to note both teams have won the senior All-Ireland at club level too. Ronan, Ballinderry obviously in 2002, and I think Austin Stacks way back in the 70s, so both teams have that bit of history and that bit of pedigree behind them.
It's crazy, Sean, in that out of the 4 teams left in the intermediate All-Ireland, 3 of them, you've crossed Malina there as well, are all ex-All-Ireland senior winners, which is and in the senior semi-finals, only one of those teams has won it. So it's a strange dynamic. But Austin Stacks, I was actually doing a wee bit of reading earlier before we came on here, and seemingly they have more All-Ireland medalists and more All-Stars in their club than any other club in Ireland, Right. And also they won the Kerry Senior Championship 3 years ago. So it was a wee bit of a fall from grace for them to find themselves playing in an intermediate championship, but we're expecting a very, very difficult game against them. I'm not sure what way the Kerry Championships are structured down there. It's a wee bit strange and hard to understand for us Nordies, but they do seem to be very strong in the intermediate and junior All-Irelands every year. So, look, our lads will be go down and hope more than confidence. I would put it that way.
I think just when you think of the names that have played for Austin Stacks, you think of like Mikey Sheehy, you have Kieran Donaghy, like going down through the years. There's so many that have come up and been the best players. Yeah. And they've been the best players in Ireland, never mind in Kerry.
Absolutely. And I think everybody knows what their club colours are. And it's fantastic to find ourselves playing against Austin Stacks. It's a club with that pedigree and that tradition. It's a real thrill for the lads themselves and for the whole parish to be going down. And it has a ring about it, hasn't it? Like going down to play Austin Stacks in an All-Ireland semi-final, even though it's intermediate. But it's where we're at, and it's a joy to be there at the minute.
And when you talk about the challenge that Ballinderry is going to face, Ronnie, I suppose you just have to look at the 2 provincial finals. You had Ballinderry just getting over the line against Arva with a last-minute point, 1 point the difference, and it was Austin Stacks. They won their 7-7 to 0-2. So 2 very different games heading into the semi-final.
For us, that's been the case right through the Derry and Ulster Championship, Sean. We've been winning games by a point or 2 the whole way through the championship, And in a way, that's been great for us. It's been great for the development of the team and to have the ability to win tight games. But looking at Austin Stack's journey through, they've been winning comfortably, which would suggest to me that they're a step above this intermediate level. They've found themselves there for whatever reason, but for me, they're the standout team that's left in it. But that's not to say, like, sometimes it's nice to be going into games just having had tight victories the whole way through, and there's an argument to be made for a team winning too comfortably coming into a game that is not good preparation. But the scoreboard will say 0-0 to 0-0 at the start of the game, and all that's really irrelevant once the game starts. It's whatever happens in the next 65 minutes that to change the scoreboard that'll decide it, not the games beforehand.
I was just going to ask you that as a manager, Ronan, pre-game, what sort of preparation would you rather? Would you rather that having to go to the well and really dig it out, or would you rather that sort of pulling up comfortable victory?
I'd much rather have to go to the well. I'd much rather win a tight game where the team hasn't maybe performed quite as well as they could and left something behind them that's given you the opportunity to see where your weaknesses are and what you can improve on. Whereas if you're coming through a game where you've won very comfortably and you haven't really been tested, you don't really know where you're at, But the flip side of that is that if you're winning provincial finals comfortably, it means you're in a good place, So I don't think Austin Stacks will be at an advantage per se for coming into the game on the back of a heavy win.
I'm looking ahead to the game. I know I was talking to you off there, and we can all talk about sort of the big names and the names we know, and we certainly will touch on them, and the same when we come to the Errigal game. But I suppose this Ballinderry team, I wouldn't have known too much about it, to be honest, before the Ulster Championship started. And I seen them the first day against Carcruppen, and it was McKinless didn't play, and I think Ryan Bale was put off that day. So It was the lesser known lights. The Darren Lawn was brilliant that day, and he kicked the winner last week. In the Ulster final, you had Niall O'Donnell has really impressed. Shane McCann's the top scorer. So I suppose that's the joy of the club game, Ronan. You get to see these players that you might know, and they're usually the game winners.
Look, I'm a huge advocate of the club championship. I think that's where it's at. Where you've groups of lads who are representing the place where they're from and playing, a wider age span on every team, and that dynamic of doing it, playing with your brothers and your school friends and what have you, that's where it's at for me, And you're right. Obviously, the standout names in our team would be Gareth McKinless, of course, and Ryan Bell, who would be in his 30s now, but has had a good career and has got championship medals and Ulster Club medal and what have you with the club. But there are younger lads who are progressing now well. You mentioned Niall O'Donnell there. Like, Niall has All-Ireland medals at minor level with Derry and McCrory Cup medals and what have you. He's a quality player, and he's somebody that we'll be looking as to be our leading light, or one of our leading lights over the next decade. And a lovely lad to boot, But the last 2 or 3 games, Niall has been really playing well. Shane McCann as well, has a wee bit of magic dust about him. He's not that powerfully built, but he's a skillful guy, and he knows where the posts are, and we'll be looking for big games from the two of them lads for sure. Darren Lawn as well, you mentioned him. He'd be one of the older members of the team. Maybe not that well known outside of Ballinderry, but hugely important in our team. He was about 10 years ago and would have championship medals and Ulster Club medal as well. And he's a quality player too, and it was brilliant to see him kicking the winner in the final, because nobody would deserve it more, to be honest. He's a good lad, and he doesn't often shoot. He doesn't often find himself in them positions, but he's more than capable if he gets a chance.
I would mention Gareth McKinless, and I suppose we were on this podcast a couple of weeks ago previewing the Ulster Intermediate final, and we were debating, was he going to go to midfield to mark Kieran Brady against Arva, or how were Ballinderry going to use him? And it turned out Hoffman come back and marked McKinless, and there was a bit of shuffling at half time. McKinless, I think, went to centre half forward and that. So do you think Joe O'Connor's the big name in the Austin Stacks team? He's the carry midfielder. Do you think is McKinless going to go to him, Ronan, or will they leave that to the midfielder and McKinless play his own game?
I have no insight into what the lads are, genuinely have no insight into what the lads would be planning for that. I would be surprised if we deviate much from Gareth being centre half back, to be honest. I think something that maybe people weren't aware of in the last game, the Ulster final against Darva, Gareth had been sick all week, I believe, and was very doubtful to play the game at all. And you could see it in him, during the game. He hadn't the same energy or the same life about him at all. However, he contributed massively to the win, but he wasn't at himself at all. He done well even to put boots on that day. So hopefully he'll get a couple of weeks now to properly recover and be in a better place to have a good game against Austin Stacks.
I suppose when you have somebody when you're talking about intermediate club level, and you have somebody like Gareth McKinless, you're so tempted to go and put him on the best man on the opposite side, particularly maybe when it's in midfield. You don't have to put him into the full back line to mark somebody or something like that. But that's always the temptation. But then he's obviously your best player. You want him to play his own game too. So there's that probably balancing act that the management team will have to work out.
And Austin Stacks will have the exact same questions to answer as well, and the way you phrased it's exactly right. It is a balancing act. The winning team will be the team that goes after it and goes to win the game. And faint heart never won fair lady. You have to rock up and go for it at this stage of the year. And I think, look, it's the manager's decision, and Jarlath and Davy will no doubt be watching Austin Stacks, and they'll come up with a plan that they'll think best to get us over the line. And the boys up until now have been buying into everything that the management have been saying, and the results speak for themselves. You can't argue with the fact that we've got promoted back to the senior football in Derry, and we've won the intermediate Derry and Ulster Championship. So we'll keep on going, and whatever Jarlath and Davy decide, then the boys will row in behind it, and we'll see where it takes us.
And an unfair question, Ronan, but we always ask for predictions on this show, so I'll fire it to you. I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but sure, give us your predictions anyway.
It's Austin Stacks by 33 points, I reckon. Sure. Look, it's impossible to give an educated prediction, really, because I'd be lying if I was sitting here saying that I know Austin Stacks inside out, and because I don't. We haven't come up against them before. I haven't seen them. I've seen a couple of clips on social media of them playing, but anything I know of them is what I've read. So I don't know enough to give an informed opinion. What I do know is that All Ireland Club semi-finals, regardless of the grade, it rarely, and especially winter football at this time of the year, whenever the ground's heavier and the ball's slippier and everything like that, it's rare that you get heavy wins, for either team. So I would expect it to be relatively close, but I'm praying for a Ballinderry victory. It would be fantastic for us to get into an All Ireland final. Fantastic for this group of lads, but I can't predict it. I just don't know, Sean. But look, gun to my head, blue and white, Ballinderry to win.
I think the whole Ulster's behind you, Ronan.
Here's hoping, Sean. Here's hoping.
Hopefully. We'll move on to the senior one, Ronan. That's Saturday is the intermediate one. Sunday's the senior one, and this is Errigal against Dr. Crooks. And as I'd mentioned at the start of the show, you'd managed Errigal for a couple of years. Won a couple of titles with Errigal, so it's a club that you know fairly well.
Well, I won one title, but probably should have added another at least, But yeah, I know the club very well from my time up there, and I have a really strong affinity with Errigal because I see them as very, very similar to Ballinderry, just in their setup, their committee, the lads, the way that the club's the centre of their community. They're the very passionate supporters, and look, there's a lot of similarities between the two clubs, and I'll be certainly rooting for them going forward now in the All Ireland series.
I think you come up against Ballinderry at one stage, didn't you, in the Ulster Championship?
Geez, yeah. Now it's been talked to death.
Sorry for dragging up.
It's been talked to death at this stage, Sean. But yeah, it was an unfortunate coincidence, I suppose. When in 2011, I watched my clubmate Paul McCaver. He was the Dromore manager at the time, and Dromore won the Tyrone Championship, and we're playing Ballinderry in the first round of Ulster. And Paul was the Dromore manager, and I was standing watching, going, God, I would hate to be in that position. And a few weeks later, Errigal approached me with a view to managing their senior team the following year. It was fresh in my memory, and we had a few chats and what have you, and I told them that, look, I'd be delighted to manage them, but if it ever came about that Ballinderry would be playing Errigal, I would have to step aside. That was agreed at the time, because I think Errigal, strangely, in the 4 or 5 years before that, had been a bit of a famine, and you know, it was almost deemed unlikely that would happen. But lo and behold, Errigal ended up winning the championship. We won the preliminary round in Ulster, and that put us head to head with Ballinderry. So I had to stick to my word at that stage and step aside.
Yeah, definitely an awkward one. I know Jerome Johnson done it recently too in Ballybay. He was over coming up against Kilcoo, obviously. So
yeah,
it's an awkward one, definitely, Ronan. But that team, I was saying to you offer that I'd looked up that team that you'd have been over, and I was surprised by the amount of players that started in your team and are still starting. Obviously, the likes of Petey Hart, Aidan McCrory, and Ciaran Quinn. There's maybe 5 or 6 guys that were starting 12 years ago, and they're still the key men.
There is, and just not on the team, on the bench as well. Like I was, you know, you've Ciaran Quinn, Aidan McCrory, Petey Hart, Kieran McGinley, Ronan McCrory. Then you've Brian Horrish is there as well in the bench. I'm bound to have missed out someone. I'll be getting stuck for it, I would imagine. But and that was off the 2012 team. Those guys are still rocking and doing very well. And then you have some of the younger lads that I would have had playing for me as well, just breaking onto the panel at that time. The Ben O'Donnells and Niall Kelly's and what have you, Dara McAnally, the goalkeeper. All good lads, all quality footballers, and yeah, certainly for those older guys, it's been brilliant for them to get a few county medals under their belt, and then to get this Ulster club medal. It's fantastic for them, you know. And I was delighted. I didn't get to the game. I was watching it on TV, and I was watching it with my son, one of my boys, and I think he was surprised at how excited I was towards the end. You know what I mean? That was I really wanted Errigal to win, and I was delighted for the lads that they got over the line. And of course, Enda McGinley, who's managing Errigal, was my captain in my time at Errigal. You know, so and a couple of Enda's management team, Rory McCann and Paul Horrish, they were knocking around the panel as well. All great lads, all great club men, and it's brilliant to see the success they're having. You know.
Given McGinley was your captain, Ron, I assume there was leadership qualities and everything else there. Did you always feel he was going to take that next step into management?
Oh, yeah, and you know, he's a special person, Enda McGinley, and he's as a footballer, he was a fantastic footballer and a more skillful footballer than he probably give himself credit for, but a heart of a lion and a real competitor and a real thinker on the game too. But his approach to making himself better every day and striving to be the best that he could be was what stood out for me, you know, and the leadership qualities. Not so much by certainly when he talked, the rest of the lads listened, you know, but a lot of his stuff was by example as well. And I was always pretty sure that if he wanted to go down that route, he was always going to make a good manager, and certainly that's what has happened.
Do you see him maybe? I know he was with Antrim a couple of years ago. Do you see him as that county level going to be his next step, I suppose, when he walked away from Errigal?
It all depends what Enda wants, I suppose. You know, he has the attributes to go to the top. But look, again, we can talk about what is the top. You know, he's at the top of management at the minute. He's got an Ulster club winning team. Is that any less than a county Ulster winning team? I would argue not. You know, the skills that go into managing the team are very much the same. So Enda has proved himself as a successful manager, and if he wants to go on ahead at some stage in his career to manage Tyrone, I have no doubt that he would be a success at it, because he's that type of guy. He'll leave no stone unturned, and he'll suffer the sleepless nights and make the sacrifices that go along with being successful. But he has it in him to do it if that's what he wants to do. He's got a young family and all the rest there, and it's it's a lot of considerations when you're talking about taking a county team. But if I know Enda, he would hit that this conversation's even taking place, because number one, he'd be uncomfortable with any level of praise, and number two, he's got a job of work to do here with Errigal, and he'll not want to be thinking about anything else,
Yeah, definitely. We just when we're talking about management, Ronan, it's an interesting one that he was playing in 2008 when Tyrone beat Kerry in the All-Ireland final, and the Kerry manager that day was Pat O'Shea, who's the Dr. Coach manager now. So it's an interesting one that McGinley was playing that time, and obviously in terms of experience and managerial experience, that Pat O'Shea holds all the aces there. But it's just an interesting note that whatever that is, almost 20 years ago, that they were in opposite corners as a player and a manager.
And it's a fantastic thing about our sport, about Gaelic football, about hurling, about the GAA, is that you get stories like this that crop up all the time, where paths intertwine, decades apart, and but it certainly adds a different another dynamic to the contest. But Pat might have a couple of decades on end as far as management goes, but I don't think Errigal will be losing out as far as the management preparation goes going into this game.
And obviously, I mentioned that 2008 All-Ireland final, Kerry and Tyrone have quite a tasty rivalry at times. Ronan, and I think that carries down to club level. I suppose we don't see them too much coming up against each other, but I'm only assuming that Tyrone and Kerry would love to get one over Tyrone no matter what level it's at.
You would imagine so. I can remember our Lochshore neighbours down here, Derry Tresk, a few years ago had a run-in with one of the Kerry clubs in an All-Ireland series, the junior series. So, it seems to be the case that Tyrone teams, for whatever reason, have had a bit of a hoodoo over the Kerry lads, over the last decade or more than a decade now. And maybe to the point where, the Kerry, they look up the road at the Tyrone teams as almost like a bogeyman, and there seems to be a bit of a hoodoo over them. So, it's an All-Ireland club semi-final. You've got two quality teams who are on top of their game, who've had a successful year, going head to head, and there'll be no. It's a great game to look forward to. It's a great game for everybody that's part of it. It's a great game. It's a great game for the supporters of the clubs to go to, and the prize is a massive one to get to an All-Ireland final. Like I talked about with the Ballinderry game, it's all in the air, and it could be decided by one or two mistakes. It could be decided by a referee's error. It could be decided by discipline issues, somebody getting sent off. Who knows? And that's what makes it great, and that's what makes it something to look forward to,
I don't know, we can't talk about Errigal. I don't think we've ever talked about Errigal in this podcast, or we've ever written a preview piece or done anything on Errigal without talking about the Canavans. And I suppose the big thing in our preview show before the Ulster final was who's going to mark the Canavans and how do you tie them down. And Kilcoo, to an extent, done that. They only scored 1 point between them, and Errigal still had enough. I suppose of their lesser known players that stepped up and had a nice spread of scores too. So I think they've shown a couple of times, Ronan, that even if the Canavans aren't scoring heavily between them, that Errigal still have enough firepower throughout the team that they can still get over the line.
You don't get to this stage in the club championship by being a one or two trick pony, in your team, because as Kilcoo proved, it is possible to negate the influence of one or two players to a large degree. But you have to have more going for you than that, and Errigal did prove that in the Kilcoo game. Although, it was obvious that Kilcoo were marking the Canavans very tightly, and they were trying to double team and get bodies around them. That obviously frees up space for other fellas, and the other fellas are more than capable of scoring. Desi Ryan would have been is a club legend around Ballinderry, and he used to always have a saying, he's a legend of a man, lies in his 80s now, but had a huge part in all our championship winning teams. And he used to say, give me 2 men to play the piano and 13 to carry it. Well, Errigal have certainly 2 men who can play the piano, but the other 13 boys can play a bit too, so it'll be, I expect Dara and Rory to score a wee bit more than they did in the Ulster final. And you have to understand that Kilcoo are an exceptional outfit as well and had their homework done and what have you. It's just, look, they're 2 fantastic players. I can remember seeing Dara whenever I was at Errigal all those years ago. Rory was only a wee tiny boy. I hadn't seen him at all, but I saw Dara playing a couple of underage matches. I think it was under 12 or 14 or something at the time. I didn't have to ask who he was because he had every wheel and turn of his dad, and I just knew, Christ, this is a quality player coming down the tracks here. Like, you'd love to see a young lad like that coming up through the ranks in your club. You'd be looking forward to him turning senior. Now they're on the cusp of getting to an All-Ireland club final, and the biggest prize, in my opinion, and I could be biased because I was lucky enough to play on a team that done it, but for me, the Andy-American Cup is the biggest prize in Irish sport, and the chances don't come around that often, and it's about really, really jumping on it and taking the chance whenever you get it, Sean.
You said at the start, Ronan, about there's only one senior team left that has actually won the Ireland before, and that one team is obviously Dr. Crooks. The one not so long ago beat Slaughtneil in the final, I think 2017 maybe.
I think that's right, yeah.
They have that experience, they have that pedigree in their club. How big is that going into a game like this? And Errigal are trying to push and do something that nobody in their club has ever done before?
It maybe has a slight bearing, for the Crooks players that were there and playing in 2017. They have the experience of coming down the track and playing at this level. But the Errigal boys at the same time, they've played a lot of big games too, and it's Errigal mightn't have won an All-Ireland as yet, but they're the only Tyrone team that has won Ulster, which is a startling statistic, and even more startling the fact that they haven't won it once. They've won it 3 times, and no other Tyrone club has managed to do it yet, which is crazy. I don't see the Errigal boys coming down the road feeling any way inferior because Crooks have won it before. I don't see that being the case at all. And look, I keep coming back to it, and it's in conversations like this, journalists and people who love the game and all, you have to find an angle to talk about it and wee things that might make a difference. But at the end of the day, when it comes right down to it, does it really make that much of a difference what happened in the past whenever the referee throws the ball in? It doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's about, for me, it's still a relatively simple game, and it's the team that performs the basic skills the best at speed under pressure will 9 times out of 10 win the match. And if whatever team does that the best and coming down the stretch in the last few minutes, I always talk about whenever the board goes up, and the board goes up with injury time, if it's the team that really goes for it at that time and knows what they're about and stays cool and performs the skills well under pressure, that usually wins the game.
And here comes the unfair question then, Ronan. Who's it going to be?
Much like the first game, the Ballinderry game that we discussed, Sean, I would be lying again if I said I knew much about Dr. Crooks. I don't. I know that the Munster Club Championship has thrown up some fantastic teams over the years, and I expect Crooks to be coming with a very, very good team. However, the Ulster Club champions have proved themselves very capable in the last few years, and we've had Kilcoo winning the All-Ireland, we've had Glen winning the All-Ireland, so there's no reason why Errigal can't go on and win the All-Ireland. And I think I have a slight fancy for Errigal, and I really hope they do win it and give their massive support a big day out in the All-Ireland final. But yeah, I think Errigal by 1 or 2.
Yeah, again, I think the whole Ulster's behind those two teams, and they're behind Eve Podrick as well, who are in the junior twinning final. They take on Tara. They have to travel over to London on Saturday, so that's a large journey for them. But they'll have to go back. They were already over, of course, a couple of weeks ago, but weather made the game unplayable, so they're going back again. So best luck to all the Ulster teams this weekend. I think the whole Ulster will be cheering them on, and hopefully we'll get a couple of Ulster teams in the All-Ireland finals. Of course, all 3 cups are already in Ulster, so we'd hope to keeping a hold of them. But Ronan, thanks very much for your time. We'll now catch up with the St. Paul's winning team, minor winning team. Mal McMullen was at their final on New Year's Day, so he caught up with a few of their players. So we'll hear from them now. And Ronan, great to hear from you. We'll be back on Monday for another review show, so everybody tune in then. And thanks everybody for listening.
All the best, Sean.
Woody McBride, there's been a few minutes since you retained your Ulster title. There's a bit more activity here about 20 minutes ago whenever you were holding on at the end. What's your thoughts on what happened out there?
Yeah, hold on is a fairly good summation, Michael. I guess, listen, we did hold on. We were going through there 4 or 5 points up halfway through that second half. We looked to be nicely in control. We had a couple of chances after that, probably to put the icing on top of the cake, and we didn't take them. We had a couple drop short. Maybe we could have, better option might have been taking a point, put another point up with that there, give us a wee bit of breathing space. And then what happens then against good teams, you come onto the couch, they start getting their run of play down the hill, and would you believe it, the one changed in the second half. We played against the one in the first half, and we played against the one in the second half, which is many times would that happen in games, never mind big games, not that many. But anyway, we grounded out near the end, and I took a goal line clearance there by fullback Daniel McGuckin to put her out round for it would have been a 45. Maybe they thought they should have got taken the 45. We thought the time was up whenever we conceded the black yard up here, and we're champions by 2 points. Delighted.
How big was the second quarter in the overall picture? Because 3-0 down, 4-1 down, then 4-all is completely different.
Oh, exactly. I mean, they simply started the game at breakneck pace. We were expecting that. You know, we said a few interviews from them there from the last while on about hurt from last year and that there. We were expecting them to come at us out of the blocks fast, and it did happen. They caught the throw up and sent a few balls in. They went 3-0 up. You said 3-1, 4-1, but it took a fair bit of effort up that hill to come back to 4-all. But whenever we got running at them, when Kevin and that got running at them, and Turla, you know, and Tomas came into the game well, and our big midfielders were doing a lot of hard work down the middle, but they were getting all the breaks. And for us to go on at half time 4 points all, we were in the dressing room and we were really happy where we were. We were calm, we sat down and we talked about it, and we figured that we were in the driving seat for that second half, and that's the way the game played out.
The goal was massive. Like the score were behind us, it was the difference in the game. And they end up, as much as you did play very well in the second half, you needed the goal in the big picture.
Absolutely. I spoke to Jerome here last week after the semi-final. I said 3-pointers are massive. Not conceding 3-pointers are massive, and scoring 3-pointers are massive. And that was a kind of a speculative ball in. We do that from time to time because we have big men that like to get in there from midfield, and you don't know what's going to happen whenever the ball's kicked in. It becomes a kind of a lottery, and it was a flick on Tiernan was there, kind of distracted, and went in behind. I think Dara might have got the last flick like that there, and went past Big Liam in the goals, and sure, you know, that's what gave us that wee bit of breathing space. We played really well after that. We did control the game, but 3-pointers are massive, Michael.
And you did touch on it there, like Kevin Muldoon had a shot into the keeper, Conor McCaw maybe took the wrong option one time, but at 5 points up you were probably in a good position, but whenever you're 2 points up it could have been costly, so you really needed to dig deep in those last few moments down there that you talked about.
Yeah.
Connell Higgins kicked a couple of frees, one from the sideline, so Maher felt we're starting to find a way.
They do. Listen, you're around myself, we've been and watched a lot of games. Good teams always find a way. We always, Coach Barry and that there, or Coach Barry Monaghan, Barry always says, boys, you have to find a way. There's a way to do everything, and you have to find it. And they were doing it because they were coming on to us. They're a good team, they're a class team, and it just took a bit of tough defending down there to keep them out. They were taking over the scoreboard, but that means they've got the momentum in the game. Then momentum in a football, it's like momentum in life. It's massive. It takes on a life of its own. We really struggled, and we got a lot of possession after that. We won our fair share of possession, but they turned us over a few times. We had a couple of wrong options up here, as you spoke about there, and then they're down the pitch. They're in free taking zone. They're getting fouled, and they're back within 2 points. And that was a bit of toughing it out there, grinding. I call it grinding. We ground out the last few minutes there.
Kevin Muldoon got man of the match. I was chatting to a few people afterwards. 3 or 4 other names come into the equation. But does that say a lot about today's performance for me? The fact that you've really got going and controlled it, that you said, and I touched on it, I was chatting to Greg earlier, the fact that the lads had played with the Abbey together, you said played together very much as a team all the way through, albeit maybe in different colours of jerseys. Was that a factor?
Yes. Listen, I suppose Kevin got man of the match there, but there's a lot of hard work goes on by the boys all around the pitch, and that comes from years and years of coaching and doing the right thing, discipline, and being unison. You know what I mean? This old saying goes, "In Yarko Curly Hannah, there's no strength without unity," and we're a big believer in that there. Good teams have to believe that the men behind them and the men in front of them and the men around them are going to do their job, and you're going to do your job, and I think it's a massive thing, and we're just so happy to have retained our title now. It's massive, it's historic really, and look forward to the boys now in the McCrory Cup next week, and that's where we are. Final
point, because there's turkey to bet down at the Devonish. On the point of view of, you've lost a final, you've won 2, you told me you've 10 boys back next year, so there's something happening around the club. Yous are under 21 champions. There's a big picture somewhere, but you're not worried about it today, but something seems to be going very well in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, listen, structures were put in place there way back, and just the right people in the right places really, and managing the teams, and there's a bit of a kind of a mindset there that people want to come out and play, and they want to work hard, and there's massive stuff going on in committees and that there in the background that's making us probably a wee bit more cohesive as a unit, and that's key to everything. If the leaders are running the show well, everybody jumps in behind them and does their bit, and I suppose in a lot of clubs, the boys that does the business on the pitch, it's probably not as, there's an administrative side of things as well, but I mean, when you see the crowd that was up there today and the support they give us, and they've been on the road with us all these years, they never let us down, and that's really special in the community and as a club, and we hope to try and drive on now and lift the standards up even more.
Odie, thanks a million for your time, congratulations, and enjoy your night stroke week, whatever. I don't know if you've made any New Year's resolutions just yet, but maybe they'll be put on pause for a couple of days.
Yeah,
no more turkey.
We have been known to take a day or two out of it. All right, so we'll see how that goes.
I'm joined by Glenarval captain Oran O'Connor. Yous have just won the title for the first time, beat Lavey 2-6 to 6 points in a battle. Yous had to defend, yous got a goal at the end. What's your thoughts on what happened out there?
I think going into the final, we knew it was going to be that way. We had a lot of respect for Lavey. We knew they were going to be strong, physical. That's exactly how it went. Every ball, you had to fight like hell really to win the ball. And in the second half against the wind, the boys stuck in, the boys kept tackling, and eventually we just managed to get that late goal to get us over the line. So absolutely over the moon to get the result, to be honest.
How valuable was the semi-final here? Because it went right to the wire. You've got a score to win it by 2 in the end. So I'm sure that was a benefit, bearing in mind how tight today was.
I think the semi-final was better than any training you can do for a final, to be honest. It let us see the pitch, it let us know how physical you have to be to win Ulster. You're not going to win Ulster easy, we all know that. And I think the semi-final was really just a perfect stepping stone for this final, to be honest.
You were chatting there about thanking your management team for the work since it started, so when did it all start? Because I remember you won a Fela, was it 3 years ago, so yeah. The team has been building, I suppose.
The team's building, but for this year's season we had a new management team in, and they just brought something different. They tried to break us many occasions. They call it crash weeks, and they make us train maybe 7 days a week and run the legs off us, but I just said today, the fitness is what won us the game. So the management team, they knew what they're at. They were well drilled, and the time and commitment they put into us was second to none, and they were unreal.
And is that a case of because there was a break from winning Antrim until now, you probably needed something else in the tank?
Yeah, I think we just needed some.
Did you nearly need to do like a second pre-season as such, or?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, well, half the team were still away playing McGuckin, so them boys, their fitness levels were staying up. But the rest of us boys who weren't, we got the young under 16s up to train with us, and credit to them, they all came. Every training we were having 20-25 boys during the last 3 months. We've been getting good numbers and just been running really, just another pre-season. With hurling in there as well, obviously, but mostly just running to get that fitness back in the legs again. And
what sort of group is it to be involved in? You touched on it, like a lot of you have been playing McGuckin over this past couple of years. You've won, St Killian's won one, lost one, so there's been a bit of momentum in general in the area.
Yeah, no, definitely. This team, they don't know when they're done. They love everything about the hurling. They love all the training. They love all the matches. And of course, they absolutely love winning as well. So they're an absolute credit to themselves, them boys.
You touched on the fact how deep you had to dig. There was a goal in it. Patrick Burke had a shot, somebody blocked it, went across the goalmouth, it didn't go in. He's won a free up here after it. So was that the moment when the game turned, or was it the goal right at the was it the goal right at the end?
I think it was just the goal, to be honest. Even if we hadn't got that goal, they always had that chance. One ball into that box, one lucky touch, it could have went anywhere. So the goal killed it. Washington Gallen, lucky flick, and he killed it.
Most important goal you've got this season?
I think so, yeah, I'd say so.
And what now for the group?
Well, we had a dry Christmas there, so I think it's now time to enjoy the new year. Enjoy a few celebrations for the next few days.
Congratulations and thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.